All praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And peace to you in the name of Jesus. This is your brother Elisha Israel of the Household of Faith. And I count it truly blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to preach the word of God. Never do I count it as a light thing to do so. Before I get into today's lesson, I just want to mention that for all those who have donated to the ministry and have left through the website, the tax information has a tax notification, that you can use for your federal income tax. That's been sent out via email, so you have you can use that for your taxes if you choose to do so. That has been sent out. And we can thank you and appreciate your donations, because spreading of the gospel and the things that we do, things cost money. So we appreciate it. We truly do. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to get right into today's topic. And I'm not going to keep you very long. At least I don't think I am. And this topic is concerning, this and it's a pending New York law that I just saw pertaining to abortion called the Reproduction Act, RHA S 240 in the state Senate and A 21 in the state assembly. Okay. And here I've just read a couple articles. It's not really getting a lot of airtime, but and I'm just saying that you need to keep an eye on it, because what it's saying, it seems to be saying, well, for one, it'll make New York have one of the most liberal abortion laws in the world. Number two, we already know New York City has a ton of abortions as it is. I want to say I read, don't quote me on this, but I want to say I read that it was almost 50% of pregnancies don't come to term largely due to abortion. But it says that abortion is a fundamental human right. Now, when you think about that, you would think you would have a right to life, but they say you have a fundamental human right to have an abortion. And what people fail to realize in their labeling of, which are babies generally, and it's under the misuse of the Constitution, like you have a right to privacy, right? Or trimester. That's a term they made up just for Roe v. Wade for the most part. The reality is that science doesn't back up that life doesn't begin at conception. Life, because people act like they don't know when it begins. Life begins at conception. Okay. The life cycle of mammals begins when a sperm enters the egg. Fertilization is when the egg is fertilized. You just have or produce a genetically distinct individual or human being. That's really not up for debate. I mean, science tells you this. This political, in the political arena, you see this falsehood. And certainly from the Bible, it tells you it clearly, you can infer that an abortion is wrong. And we're gonna read some things, but I just want to read a little from the Bible. But I want to read a little bit more about the potential what this law seems to do, at least on the surface. Number one, says abortion is a fundamental human right, right? Again, you don't have the right to kill the baby in the womb. The baby in the womb has rights. You don't have the right of privacy. You can't just invite somebody over your house and kill them, and then when they ask you, why'd you murder this person? Well, I had the right to privacy. No, the baby in the womb has rights. The baby in the womb is a human being. Okay. This law seems that it could potentially prevent doctors who want to abstain from giving or providing abortions, right? Seems like it may block some religious organizations from advocating for life. Seems to disallows criminal charges for illegal abortions, right? That's what it seems to do on the surface. So it's just something to to keep an eye on. And I just wanted to just touch upon it because I wrote a book about it, and you can get it on Amazon. Soon you'll be able to get it on our website. Killing Black Innocence. And I deal largely with abortion because once I found out and did research pertaining to how many of our people, how many just babies in general have been killed through abortion, and just the sickness and the immoral state of the nation, it really, quite frankly, touched my heart. I felt like I had to do something. And so that was my contribution to it, in addition to preaching about it, but also, having something that's on record. So that book is called Killing Black Innocence. But if you look at, because for us as a people, we've killed approximately what would equate to 25% of our current population through abortion. Okay. Again, 25, what would equate to approximately 25%, a quarter, through abortion. And since Roe v. Wade, if you look at these are conservative numbers, but if you look at Guttmacher, who keeps the Guttmacher Institute, who keeps the institution that keeps the numbers for reported annual abortions from 1973 to 2014, there have been over 60 million abortions. 60 million abortions. And then when you track what happens to these aborted children, as far as some being just simply thrown away, some being body parts sold. You look at the former president and how he supported through no votes in the Senate, but also was an advocate for abortion, for abortion rights. So again, we know that life begins at conception. And we should consider why women are getting abortions in the first place. This is also from Guttmacher. This is from, let me find it. This is from, it's a report entitled Reasons U.S. Women Have Abortions, Quantitative and Qualitative Perspectives. This is also from Guttmacher. Well, we'll actually, the vast majority of women are getting abortions. I mean, the vast majority. It says 74%, and then it gives other percentages. They're getting it because having a baby would dramatically change their life. A lot of women said it would change their education. 38% said that. Can't afford a baby, unmarried. If people would change their behavior, they wouldn't have all these abortions. And although abortion rates are going down significantly, you still have way too many. Let's go to Psalms 139th division. Because you want to find out what's the significance of the fruit of the womb from a biblical perspective. Is this a human being with rights? 139th division. And we want to pick it up at verse 13. Because here we see what was made in the womb. It says, and it's talking about what God has done. It says in Psalms 139 and verse 13, for thou hast possessed my reins. Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. So that's talking about being created by God. Then it says, my substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Okay, now this lowest parts of the earth is figuratively speaking, okay, about being shaped in the womb, okay, in the darkness of the womb. Now let's go to Jeremiah, the 1st chapter, because here we had a prophet, Jeremiah, and we want to see what's said pertaining to him. This is Jeremiah 1 and verse 4. Jeremiah 1 and verse 4. It says, then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified, which means set apart. I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. So now this is when Jeremiah is called as a prophet. And there's one thing about it. You as an individual, right? Like I said earlier, you've made a man and woman come together to have children, and they conceived, that is a distinct human being, different from mother and father, taking attributes from both, but still a distinct human being, unique in that aspect, coded with DNA. And this individual, you have no idea what contribution this individual can make. Think about all the lost potential of the 25, or amongst our people in particular, the 25% that were killed. You don't know who you're killing. You know, I think it was in the book Freakonomics, it talked about crime rates going down, if I'm not mistaken, crime rates going down through abortions. Well, you don't know what those people would have done. You don't know what contributions could have been made. It only takes one. That's why we study history. History is largely about people who have made considerable contributions to humanity. But it says something about a society, as Jesse Jackson said before he changed his position because he wanted to run as a Democrat for president. He talked about the immorality and the lack of a moral conscience of a people who would abort the child in the womb. But because he wants to be a Democrat, then it's okay. He gets along with the program. See, we as a people, we go along with what other people have put forth, largely to put forth to get rid of us. Largely to get rid of us. Anyway, even when you look at like the birth control programs, I just said birth control programs that were put forth by what eventually became Planned Parenthood, they tried to appeal and lobby this with black leadership. And black leadership put this in front of the people. I'm talking about W.B. Du Bois, Frazier, Adam Clayton Powell. These people put this plan forth in front of black people because black people, well, number one, they were having children in wedlock, even though we were experiencing a lot of poverty, we still having children in wedlock, and they looked at it as a way of getting rid of poverty. But these eugenicists looked at it as a way to get rid of us. You look at how all these women in the South had hysterectomies, and they didn't consent to them in Mississippi, was it Sunflower County, like where Fannie Lou Hamer came from. Look at the high rates of women that had their ability to reproduce taken away from them. Look at all the push to get rid of their children through long-term birth control right now, or in recent years, as well as abortions. Okay, so and we have bought into this immorality. But again, he said, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, or set thee apart to be a prophet. So Jeremiah in his writings, he has benefited us even in this day. All right, let's go to Exodus, the 21st chapter, because we want to see, does the person in the womb have rights? Does the person in the womb have rights? Let's go to Exodus, the 21st chapter. Exodus 21, we want to pick it up at verse 22. Exodus 21 and 22. It says, if men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judge is determined. Okay, so what you have here is two men engaged in a physical conflict, and one of the men, while engaging in the physical conflicts, in his actions, he does something that, when he strikes the woman on accident or whatever happens, that causes her to go into labor, and she delivers the child. Okay, so the fruit of the womb is referring to the child. So if men strive and hurt a woman with child, meaning she's pregnant, so that her fruit depart from her, she goes into labor, right, early. And it says, and yet no mischief follow. What is yet no mischief follow? It means the baby does not die. She goes into labor, but the baby is delivered, and the baby does not die. the man is still held accountable. It says he shall be surely punished. Now he's punished. It says according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judge is determined. So now this goes before, because we, even though we would be what they would call it, we had what they would call a theocracy. Okay, Israel had what was called a theocracy. That was, it was like, just like how you would go before a judge, you would go before elders, you would go before judges, etc., and they would determine matters. See, that's how the law, or see, wasn't the U.S. Constitution, it was the Torah. This was how they were governed. Okay, it says, and if any mischief follow. Okay, what does that mean? If any mischief follow, that means if the woman goes into labor and that child is stillborn, that child dies. Listen to what it says. Then thou shalt give life for life. If that is the case, brothers and sisters, what does that tell us? It tells us that from a biblical perspective, the life in the womb is sacred. Okay, and it has the same rights as someone outside of the womb. So from a biblical perspective, like I did a lesson last time, I did a lesson on this not too long ago. It was a feminist, and she was talking about abortions having an abortion is the Christian thing to do. To prevent abortions would be unchristian. But here we find that the life in the womb has rights, and it is the audacity of people and the just the immorality of people. The moral relativism that you see today would say that this is right, even though biblically speak, see, you want to say it's right because this is what's going on right now. No, it's wrong. And to say that it's right is contrary to the word of God, because clearly the life in the womb has rights. So you can't kill it in the privacy of your home. Even if you go to that abortionist and they take those, they crush the baby's head and they vacuum it out. And the baby feels pain. That's murder. You could try to sugarcoat it however you want to. That's not moral. That's immoral. But again, from a biblical perspective, it says, and if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life. But some would say, well, what about in the positions of incest and rape? Again, the Bible speaks against incest and rape. The Bible speaks against having sexual relations with next of kin. It speaks against rape. That's a capital punishment according to Torah. But then you want to find out, the question we should ask is why, again, like I touched upon it earlier, why are people women getting abortions in the first place? Is it because of incest and rape? Because that always comes up. But according to this, this article, or this report, rather, reasons U.S. women have abortions, quantitative and qualitative perspectives, was a victim of rape was approximately 1%, and pregnant because of incest is less than 0.5%. I'm gonna say that again. Was a victim of rape, 1%, became pregnant as a result of incest, less than 0.5%. Again, the vast majority of abortions, brothers and sisters, are not because of incest or rape or even the health of the mother of the child. It is largely due, the vast majority is because of a baby being inconvenient. You have to ask yourself the question, why is a baby inconvenient? A baby is inconvenient because, number one, oftentimes the baby is conceived in a situation between a man and a woman that is not a covenant. What's going on oftentimes is just fornication. See, because the institution of marriage, it's for the child and protects the child, and when done properly, that's what it's for, is to bring forth children. That's the ultimate purpose of marriage, to bring forth children and to bring them forth within the confines of marriage so that they are cared for the best, because marriage is a protection against abuse, sexual and physical. It's a protection against poverty. I'm talking about for children. It's a protection against juvenile delinquency. It's a protection against drug abuse. It's a protection against someone oftentimes engaging in future degenerate behavior as an adult, being physically abusive to a woman, being a criminal. Look at the prison population, and what you will see is the vast majority of individuals who were born out of wedlock and did not have a father in the home. Okay? When you look at poverty rates, largely because people are, oftentimes you see people in poverty. I'm not saying it, I'm not speaking absolutely. So let's make that clear, because sometimes people, when you say things, they think you're speaking in an absolute. I'm not saying absolutely if two people are married, they won't experience poverty. What I'm saying is that they're least likely or less likely to experience poverty. You're less likely to experience failure in school. You're less likely to experience to engage in juvenile delinquency as a child. You're less likely to be sexually abused. You're less likely as a female to get pregnant. You're less likely to do all these things if you have a man and a woman married and they conceive and they bring those children up. Okay, so people are getting abortions because a baby is inconvenient. They in school, they have a job, they don't like the individual. But you should be considering all those things before you lay down. Because because people say it's your body, yeah, it's your body, but what's in your body has rights. It has the right to life. You don't have a fundamental human right to have an abortion. Are you? Well, I was gonna say, are you crazy? But obviously, yes. If that's your argument, because clearly life begins, go to the American Association of Pediatricians, they'll tell you, life obviously begins in the womb. I mean, it's not, science backs that up. That's clear. It's certainly clear. So what about in the case of rape and incest? Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 24th chapter. Deuteronomy, the 24th chapter, and we're going to pick it up at verse 16. Deuteronomy 24 and verse 16. It says, the father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Okay, so now you have situations where you have rape. That's a heinous crime, right? Again, that's a crime that for which the judgment is capital punishment for the person who rapes. However, that doesn't mean that because somebody is raped, that the child that is conceived and raped has to die, because that's punishing the child. You could say, well, that's harsh. It is harsh in the sense of having to deal with that. That is harsh. I'm not making light of someone who was conceived with a heinous crime of rape or even incest, but still, what has the child done is what we should ask the question. The child is innocent. The child, brothers and sisters, is innocent. And let's go. This is the last place. Like I said, I wasn't going to keep you long. This is Psalms 127, and we want to pick it up at verse 3. 127 and verse 3. Because what are children? 127 and verse 3. It says, lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. Okay, so that's what children are. Children are a blessing from the Lord, brothers and sisters. And they don't come. You have to raise them up. You have to guide them and direct them. But they are, it says, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. So children, brothers and sisters, are a blessing. And we should protect the children because they are most vulnerable in the womb. So with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we're at the Household of Faith, meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana. And we have our services at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel, as well as at our website at www.israelteach.org. I want to remind you again that to all those who have made donations, and we are truly thankful for those who support this ministry, that tax information has been sent out. You should check your emails, the address that you gave us, we sent those through the via email. Also, for those of you that didn't, we sent those letters. We sent those letters out. So be looking for those in the mail. Okay. And with that, brothers and sisters, it is always my prayer that you were edified.